open enrollment.
If the decision isn't to our satisfaction as individual families, this decision needs to be made in order for us to make our decisions in dealing with open enrollments for our children for next year.
And that's an excellent point, and certainly noted. Don't have the answer for that, but we understand that open enrollment does start roughly at the end of January. I don't have an answer for that, but certainly it's noted.
Is one of the options do nothing?
The option is to bring together stakeholders, as I said, and I know we don't need to continue to go over that piece. So is bring the stakeholders together, look to see what the options are for this campus and the other campus, bring the recommendations, whatever those recommendations are. We don't have a crystal ball, don't know what that looks like. Bring the recommendations forward to the Board of Education and move forward from there. So in answer to your question, is the option to do nothing? Certainly if the design team, that's what the consensus is, and that's what the outcome of the design team and that collaborative effort unveils, then that's the recommendation that can move forward. It really is going to be contingent on decisions that are made through that particular group.
How is the design team being selected?
We
Who
are...
or who's selected?
How is the design team selected? I can tell you the way the design team has been selected for West. That's part of the design team. We are looking for 2 teachers. I mean, there's a whole composition of the folks that I just had outlined earlier. My understanding is Mr. Thomas asked for volunteers. Those were set forward for those that could meet, because we're talking about a 2-hour commitment every week. In addition to work that's going to be done outside. So that was brought forward to the principal. The principal sent that to the superintendent. The superintendent will take a look at it and look to see what best, looking at the group to ensure that it's equitable with all the stakeholder groups.
Okay. Question. I've actually, with my profession, I've been on this side of the house making recommendations to a superintendent in a district. So my question is this, has the decision already been made, and is this a formality?
No. This is very much a moving process, but I can get into my questioning later on, but no, as far as the board is concerned, no. This is still a moving process, and there has been no determination as to what will be made as far as either design team or what happens afterwards.
I have a question right here. I actually read the report that you posted online, the 7-Eleven report, and on the report it stated that the superintendent is recommending the merge of West Campus and Sac High. And tonight's meeting is to gather information, so can we all show a hand if the proposal actually is merging the 2 schools together? Will you pull your child out of the proposed merged school? Please show a hand. So this is the facts that you need to bring back to the board, that we will pull our kids off the proposed school and you will not get the enrollment that you're looking for.
I'll get yours in just a second, because I want to kind of give some feedback to that question. One, I would highly encourage you to take a look at the report on the website. That was the report that was spoken to at the board meeting. We don't have an interest one way or the other on the outcome other than what's best for students. So it's not the district or the board's intent to close one, merge another, do this, do that, whatever the design team comes up with. The intent is to go out to all the stakeholders and ask you what's best for your child. That's our intent. So there isn't any hidden agenda. So it's a recommendation. We have to look to see what comes out of the design team.
I had a question. When the issue was initially brought up to us about 2 years ago, they said that the proposal on the table was that Sac High was going to be closed, so West Campus was going to take over their location. What happened with that?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm prepared to talk about the design team and the process right now, what's going on, but I'm not prepared to answer that. I really don't know. I have to follow the mic. I'm not thinking they're going on open.
Once the design team gathers their information and makes their evaluation, will the parents and the students have an opportunity at that point, once they also have all the information, have an opportunity to give their input?
Is the question how will parents have the opportunity to give input within the process?
Right. I mean,
You are represented by a couple parents. We are going to be looking at ways to communicate that and to get your involvement and get your input. We don't want this to be a closed system by any means, but it has to be something that we can get the work done in. And so a group of 25, 30, that's a large group to get a consensus building project done. We will work to get your voice, and that's the intent of the process. We are looking for a professional facilitator to do this work. That's what they do. That is their profession in this work. So we're looking for that as far as getting everyone's voice, all the different stakeholders.
So with the numbers that you've seen of how many people will pull their children from the school if it is moved, does that worry you as to what children you will then be getting into the school because of people that won't be applying out there?
What I can say is I'm going to run, I believe in the process, and we'll work through the process, and whatever recommendations the design team brings forward to the Board of Education, I trust that they make the right decision on what's best for kids. Am I worried one way or the other? I believe that the process will provide programs that are best for all of our kids.
You just said earlier that the most important thing is what's best for our children. Don't the test scores that they're getting right now already show what's best for the children?
Okay, again, I'm gonna go back and folks, and I'm not trying to disregard your question at all, and I will get to it. But the purpose of this meeting, once again, what I'm prepared to talk about is not defend anything. I'm here to talk about the process that the Board of Education has recommended that communities go through. So I don't have an interest or an idea, or I'm not here with an opinion. So those sorts of questions, I'm just going to say, we're just going to kind of move to the next, unless it's something that's a concern that we can write down, that Mr. Arroyo can write down, because he wants to be able to hear your voice. I hear that the test scores are fabulous and second to none, absolutely, in the entire county, absolutely. So I'm not quite sure what the question is relative to this process.
I have a comment. It's not really
please.
a question over here. We're thankful that you're here, Mr. Arroyo, and that you're here as well. And I think what a lot of parents are trying to communicate here with the superintendent's office, if you could convey what you're hearing to the superintendent. We know that the process is going to go forward, and hopefully it will have the outcome that we want, but the superintendent provided an alternative proposal of co-locating St. Hope and West Campus. So I think what you're hearing is a lot of feedback. A lot of people are worried about that, don't support that. Can you please communicate that on our behalf to the superintendent?
Thank you, absolutely. Let me help you out here before we continue with more questions, and we will take as many as we need to. The purpose I decided to come here, and I thought I was going to be meeting with a handful of parents to tell you the truth. This is great. This is even better. For me, more than anything, is to clarify simple pieces of information. There are simple pieces of information. and you've heard what they are. Number one, I am not here to, as she said, I'm not here to defend anything. My purpose for being here is to listen as your trustee in this area, what your concerns are, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and what you need me to consider as we move forward through this process. You mentioned a minute ago, or one of your asked right now, how are the parents supposed to be represented through the process? Well, you're looking at a person that can help you represent that voice. If anything, I see my role as trustee, number one, to be your voice on the school board, period. It starts there. And so if there are any concerns and issues, let me know. I mean, I'm a vote of 7, and I have a voice for Area 4. So West Campus is in Area 4, and I will do my best to represent the interest of this community. We can dialogue, and we can talk about what my options or what my positions are on the board. But I like to have informed decisions, and part of me being here is in a very calm, collected, and thoughtful conversation, hear what your concerns are, and what is it that I need to have in mind as we're moving through this process. It's just as simple as that. I completely hear the voice in the background, in the back of the question, and sorry you never said your name, so I don't know who asked these questions. I see the faces though. Is this already a done deal? Is this kind of pro forma? It is not. These are ideas that have been discussed through a 7-11 committee, through meetings, through dialogue, so nothing is really concrete. And so for me, it's extremely important to hear what parents, what students, what members of the community really want, because in the end, we're here for you. At least that's how I see my role. So please share any information. We can pass the mic around, and you can let me, what is it that I need to think, what is it that I need to consider? Realize that you guys have a very similar perspective, and you will echo each other, right? So anything that I need to know, please let me know. I'll write it down, and then if there are questions pending, I will write them down, and I will try to basically just get answers for them, talk to the superintendent, and figure out how is it that we can best serve the students in this area. So with that, I mean, I hope that that's kind of clear enough, at least how I see my role here tonight and as we move forward with this process.
Yes. Thank you for your time. Let me ask it. Kind of backtracking a little bit to the design team and talking about that. We're going through this process at Leonardo da Vinci right now, the exact same process, and it's being evaluated for a different type of situation. But we're going through the same exact process with the design team, and it's the exact same layout. But what we were told was it's going to be a 6-week process from the time they establish the design team, where they're going to go through the process of evaluation, and then they're going to be done. And I'm just curious, as far as I understood, they said that that was the same for all of these projects. So I'm curious, because I'm very leery of any bureaucracy going through this process in 6 weeks and evaluating awesome school programs and then coming up with a way to change it just in general. Is that the same timeline we're on right now? Are you on a 6-week schedule? From the time that the design team is set?
I was at a community meeting, just to kind of give some voice to that. I was at a community meeting for, actually a coffee chat last week, and this topic obviously had come up. And Patrick Kennedy, who's the board member representing that region, he did say that if it takes 6 weeks, then great. If it takes a couple months, then so be it. They have to have a thorough process where everyone's voice is heard. So I know at that meeting, that's the information that he gave. My understanding, he was there the night before. So if you heard 6 weeks, don't know. I know that the board is very interested in ensuring that everyone's voice is heard, and we do a solid process and a good process and bring some recommendations to the board. So,
and just to follow up, because my curiosity is that I know within any bureaucracy, to do any project, to set up anything, you have to set deadlines and timelines, and it has to be laid out ahead of time. So this process has already been thought out and gone through with legal. And so what I'm curious of is where will we find those reports and get access to those reports and find the things that you have found to be pros and cons already before you approach this point, where you check it out, make sure you're not doing things that get you sued and that type of stuff.
Currently, we have a couple of design teams already started, because again, this is going on around the district.